Tuesday evening, everybody. Chris McDonald with you on this Tuesday night, and we have got a very special McFiles Live special tonight. I've got my dear buddy. It's been a long time since I've seen Pastor Stacey Shiflett, and he is a tremendous man of God up in Dunkirk, Maryland. And we got his website up there. But Stacey, it's good to have you tonight. I thought about you because of this tragedy that hit last night in Maryland, and from what I understand, it was right near your church, and I'm going to let you sort of tell the people about it in a minute. But before we do that, let me just say welcome back to the McFiles. You've always been a blessing, and your book has helped a number of people, and thank you for being with me tonight, and we're grateful to have you on the McFiles.
Thank you. It's good to be back on with you again.
It really is, buddy. Listen, from what I understand, I've got a video I want to play just a second. This is just a YouTube little clip of what went down last night. This thing happened last night, didn't it? It sort of happened in the wee hours of the morning.
This morning around 1:30.
1:30, and we've got the raw footage of it right now. This cargo ship lost power, and it basically crashed into the Baltimore bridge. And this clip that we've got going here is about a minute long, and so forth. And what we understand, I'm seeing it now. You told me before the show started, it took a sharp turn to the right. It's going to hit that support for the bridge, and this whole bridge is going to basically crash into the river. Now, it's very troubling to watch this. Now, from what you told me, how many people are missing, and how many people are? I know there's 6. There it is right there. That's the impact of it right there. And there's the bridge. My goodness, it falls right into the river there. What a scene there. And so forth. Now, that bridge is in very historic waters because it is the same area. When I was with you last time, when I saw your church for the first time, you said, hey, before you leave, go to Fort McHenry, because that is where Francis Scott Key wrote the famous "Oh, Say Can You See by the Dawn's Early Light," our national anthem. And I did. It really moved me to tears watching and watching the presentations. And but this bridge is near that general area, is it not? And tell us a little about the history, because this was a big deal this morning. I mean, this really was a big deal, what happened in our country.
Yeah, so there's the Baltimore Harbor, which surrounds Fort McHenry, and then the mouth of the harbor is the Patapsco River, and the British sailed in right there in that mouth of that harbor, and began bombing, lobbing the bombs and shells at Fort McHenry. And of course, as you know, Francis Scott Key was a lawyer. Mm-hmm. And was being held as a prisoner on one of those British ships, right in that area. I mean, literally right in that area of where they built that bridge. And so in 1977, they built that bridge, and they called it the Francis Scott Key Bridge. Everybody around here just calls it the Key Bridge for short. But there's a lot of history there, and so that bridge has been there, close to 50 years. And like you said, at 1:30 this morning, around 1:25, 1:26, a cargo ship coming out of the harbor headed to Sri Lanka. I think it was a Singapore-based container ship, about 3 football fields long, 948 feet long. So you can imagine how much momentum. Appears to have had some sort of major malfunction with the mechanical aspects, electrical aspects. You go look at different videos, it seemed like the lights, power went off, everything went black, came back on a few seconds later. There was black smoke pouring out of the smokestack. Lights were on for just a little bit, lights went off again. Somewhere in there, things just went obviously terribly wrong. The ship looked like it was originally on course to go between the two pylons or supports or whatever you call them, like it was intended. But then when the malfunction started happening, it just started turning to the right really hard. And I don't know that it could have hit that pylon any more square than if it was trying to. The blessing of that, Chris, is that it was 1:30 in the morning, so the traffic was very light. I'm thankful it didn't happen in the middle of the day or during rush hour. It would have been an unbelievable tragedy. There are usually just dozens and dozens and dozens. I mean, the bridge is 1.5 miles long, okay? So you can just figure that out. Roughly 30 to 35,000 vehicles a day cross that bridge. It's literally 1.5 miles from my house. I can be on that bridge in less than 5 minutes when I'm heading to the airport or heading south. That's the 695 Beltway. 95 runs right through Baltimore.
Right.
From New York,
exactly.
From New York down. And then there's a beltway that goes all the way around the city, like every major city has a beltway. Like Atlanta, you got 85 that runs right through the middle, and you got 285 that runs around. Mm-hmm. So there's a 695 that runs around the
Baltimore.
city.
Yes.
And that is 695. That bridge was 695 south coming out of Baltimore headed toward Glen Burnie. And so I didn't hear it. A lot of people that live close to the water said they heard it, so they felt the ground shake. Not exactly sure how that happened with it falling into the water, but I doubt their story. But I didn't hear it. I woke up this morning and my phone was blowing up. Everybody telling me. And it is definitely going to impact our church. I was telling you before we started, one of my Bible college, we have a Bible college here at our church. One of my Bible college students lives right on the other side of the bridge, and normally it takes him 25 minutes to get here. And he had to go the other way through the tunnel. It took him 1 hour and 20 minutes to get to church tonight. And so this is going to greatly impact a lot of people going to work, coming home from work. Because if you take that 35,000 that was going across that bridge every day, and now you divert them through the 895 tunnel or the 95 tunnel that goes underneath the harbor, those two bridges already had around 100,000 a day going through them.
Good Lord.
Or 70,000, I'm sorry. It's going to be now in a neighborhood of 100,000 a day diverting through those tunnels. There was only 3 ways to get across the harbor, and you just took one of them away. So basically 33% of the traffic has now been diverted. And the traffic already was bad. Anybody that's driven through Baltimore knows those tunnels and the interstates are just congested.
I've been through there.
It's a major, 95 is a major artery for traffic north and south, and now it's going to be just crazy.
Let me ask you this. What's your latest figures of what you're hearing on the death? Was there any, I understand 2. Is there 2 that were confirmed dead?
2 have been found.
Okay.
Amazingly, one's in serious conditions at the hospital. Another one was fine, didn't even go to the hospital. He said he's fine. But there are 6 right now, 6 people remaining that are unaccounted for that they're searching for. And presumably those would be some construction workers that were doing night work on the bridge, fixing potholes and whatnot.
Got you.
From all indications, and again, go double check everything I say. I've got access to the same links and websites everybody else does. It doesn't appear that any cars fell in there.
Yeah, it's a miracle. That's a miracle.
I think what happened, from what I'm hearing, is the ship sent out Mayday, 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 and there are red lights and green lights at the bottom end of the bridge as the road starts to form the bridge. There are red lights, and all I can figure is somehow, some way, something worked correctly because cars were stopped before the bridge collapsed. I don't know that any vehicles fell in. I haven't heard that. It seems to me that the only people that fell in were those construction workers working on the bridge, and 6 of them, as of a little while ago, were unaccounted for.
Yeah. What has this done to this? Look, I've been through Baltimore several times in my years of travel, even before this show. I mean, I used to sell photography, and we went up through there, 695, 95. That's a hub. I mean, it ties Washington, D.C. to the northeast. Beautiful city. Good, decent football team as well. But the other thing,
and
baseball, and the
baseball.
Orioles are getting better. Orioles are a young team and very exciting. What has it done to the psyche of the city, Pastor? What is the people? Is it been sort of a shock? I'm sure that something like this, because this hits home. I mean, this is a major, as you said, thoroughfare, and the historical part of where it hit. And I'm going to get into that more with you in a minute. But what has it done for the citizens of Baltimore? I mean, I know there's got to be sort of a sort of a feeling of concern.
There is a bit of a dumbfounded feeling. We're still trying to get our head wrapped around it. A bridge that you drive over every day collapsing into the water is not something that happens all the time, and so it's just not really resonating with people. Like you said, it's a landmark, especially for Dundalk. Dundalk, Maryland is right on the eastern side of Baltimore. We are in Baltimore County, right on the east side, right outside the city limits, the little city of Dundalk. There's about 65,000 people here where I pastor a Calvary Baptist church, and we drive that road. People in our church drive that road every day, going to work, coming back from work, and then coming to church. Everybody that comes through there. So this has created this really weird feeling. You feel like you're stranded, even though you're not. It feels like you're stranded. When a major bridge drops into the ocean,
yeah,
you're like, oh my goodness, now I got to go all the way around, go through another way, and it just. My wife and I were just talking today. You know, we go to the airport a lot. BWI Airport is right to the south of the city and is a major airport. And we live 20 minutes from the airport. I mean, we're so close to the airport that when one of our family members fly in, they just text when they land, and we leave the house, and by the time we get to the curb, they're there. And now all that changes. It's just traffic. It's traffic jams. You know, and talking about that harbor, Chris. So I was doing a little bit of research this afternoon and discovered that there are about 15,000 jobs directly related to the harbor, the port itself, and then another 140,000 jobs that are somehow affected. It's one of the largest ports. It is the #1 port in the United States for bringing in cars and tractors and farm equipment. They all come in, and there are just huge depots and just acres and acres and acres of parking lots right there off of that bridge, okay? So as ships come in and offload their vehicles, cars, tractors, you know, everything's right there. Well, right now, that whole thing's clogged. You can't get in or out. All the ships that were in the harbor cannot get out because that bridge fell and is blocking it. Nothing can get in, nothing can get out. And then to complicate other matters, right there to the right of it is what they call the North Point. There's a trade point, huge importing and exporting depot. When I say depot, it used to be Bethlehem Steel, a massive piece of land there that they have turned into Amazon and FedEx, UPS, Home Depot, shipping and receiving, and just lots of trucks coming in and out of there every day. That bridge, even though people don't realize, that bridge was the alternative route for trucks, because a lot of trucks, if they carry any kind of hazmat or have any kind of propane or whatever, they're not permitted to go through the tunnels. 895 is a tunnel that goes underneath the ocean, the harbor, and 95 has a tunnel that goes underneath the harbor. Those trucks were not allowed to go through there, so they went over the Key Bridge. So what's going to happen now is they've got to go all the way around the western side of Baltimore, take 695, go all the way around and go back up. That's going to add about 45 minutes to their trip just to get to the northern side of Baltimore. And so you think about how this is impacting, you know, shipping, receiving, and the ports. Yeah, big deal. And, you know, who knows how long it's going to take, Chris, to build this bridge. Biden said the federal government was going to pay for it, so it'll probably take about 25 years.
25 years. Well, you know, Stacey, also, if you think about this is going to affect the country economically, because if that port was such a hub for these cars and these shipments that come in and out, it's going to cause delays. I'm sure it's going to have a ripple effect on the country. Is that a fair statement?
There was talk about a noticeable price hike on some things. If they can get some barges or whatever they do and drag that debris out of the mouth of that river, and ships can come and go, then we'll be okay. It would just be a logistical hardship now getting to and from all those places, because that bridge was the main road that they used. So, and I was trying to do a little bit of research and figure out how long it's going to take. It took 5 years to build it the first time, and that was in '77, and it cost $110 million. The government obviously needs to jump on this and fast track it. I can't imagine them having to do any kind of environmental impact studies. The bridge was already there. Shouldn't have to study what a bridge is going to do there. It's been there. They need to drag the stuff out of the mouth of the river and build this thing back. And they need to build it back way better than it was. Because if you look at that video, it just seemed to me like that thing collapsed way too easy.
It did. It did. I saw it, and I'm with you. All right, now what I'm about to ask you now is going to be a little bit more faith-based and prophetic, because I was on we do a Bible study here in the mornings on our Faith Network, and I was doing just a glance at the headlines, and I was looking at Gateway Pundit this morning. It was right prior to this event, and yesterday at the UN, America basically betrayed Israel for the first time, I think, publicly, because we've been doing this forever, for decades, privately, but yesterday was the first time that America went to the UN, Stacey, and publicly sided with the UN in their condemnation of Israel, calling for a ceasefire, telling them to stop defending themselves. And it does not get lost on me that this bridge is in the same harbor as the national anthem, where our national anthem was written, Francis Scott Key, and it does not, and it's literally eerie that the fold of the Gateway Pundit has the UN story up top and the bridge collapse right underneath literally side by side, up and down, and so forth. I cannot believe, and help but believe, that there's a message in this. And I'm not saying that the bridge collapsed necessarily because of anything, because as of right now, unless, and what we were talking about before, the government is saying it was mechanical error of the ship and all this, and okay, whatever. I don't trust the government anyway, but whatever they say is whatever they say. I got other thoughts about that. But anyway, for the sake of argument, let's just say it was mechanical error. It still slammed into one of the most historic bridges and a more historic part of our nation. And I just wonder if you see any prophetic tie like I do, because I feel like these things are happening more and more, buddy, and I think the Lord's trying to speak to us.
We're accused of seeing boogeyman behind every tree. And I saw a t-shirt the other day that said, I need some more conspiracy theories because all my old ones have come true. And so, and we're still, even though we're right 99.9% of the time, we're still hesitant to say what we're thinking out loud because it sounds so off the charts.
It does.
Until it happens, and we're just sitting here going, this cannot be happening. But I don't think that you can get any more ironic or any more appropriate. The relationship that America's always had with Israel is collapsing.
It is.
Our bridge to the Middle East is from here to Israel. Okay, so that's our strongest ally. We've been friends with them ever since they became a nation in 1948. And the irony is not lost on me that bridge has collapsed or is collapsing, and the bridge that is named Francis Scott Key Bridge, named after the man that wrote our Star-Spangled Banner, the place where America fought off tyranny. The War of 1812 is when the battle was fought there at Fort McHenry.
Exactly right.
And they came in, they burned D.C., they burned Washington, and they came up and was trying to come in through Baltimore. They had those ships in the harbor. They sent a bunch of soldiers through the North Point. There's a battleground not 7 minutes from where I'm sitting right now, where a bunch of citizens from Baltimore fought off the British soldiers on land, built trenches and everything. The Battle of North Point is right here. 5 minutes from my church, okay? And so the battle that was won that day, God intervened on our behalf. But the history of that War of 1812 and the Star-Spangled Banner, it happened right there in those waters where this tragedy happened this morning. So is there a connection? I don't know. I just think that it's very interesting to say the least.
Very interesting to say the least, but I do believe this, and I'll just use this, and I've been saying this about this eclipse coming up on the 8th. Look, I'm with you. Look, I'm not one to chase boogeymen all over the place, but I do believe that these things have messages in them, Stacey. And look, the Lord, I don't know what's going to happen on the 8th. I know one thing's going to happen. The earth's going to turn dark for about 4.5 minutes. And one of the cities that's in the path of that eclipse is Nineveh. And, you know, Nineveh was basically a choice. God gave that city a choice. It was the capital of the Assyrian Empire and gave it 40 days to either repent or perish. And it chose the right path. America has not. And I see things, when I see things like this, look, you can't, as I got a dear friend, Jason Miller, his favorite saying to me is, Chris, you cannot make this stuff up. You can't make it up that less than 12 hours after we betrayed Israel at the UN yesterday that we had this event happen in Baltimore. And look, the historical nature of this cannot be understated. And to me, it's like you just said. I think you beautifully said it. Our bridge to the Middle East is being destroyed by evil men and women in Washington, D.C., Stacey. And let me tell you something. If we betray Israel, you know, I think people, and this is just my thought about God and how he handles nations. The greatest judgment that God brings on a nation, he may not send lightning bolts down and thunderbolts like people think he does. You know what he does? He takes his hand off a nation. He takes his hand of protection off a nation. And he opens that nation up to her enemies. And he opens her nation up. And I see this bridge. And I was thinking as you was talking, you know, that fort that I stood on and wept when I was there, it was the only thing between us and total destruction as a nation. And if you read the story of what Francis Scott Key did, why he wrote the Star Spangled Banner to begin with, if you can't be moved by that, you just ain't got a soul, man. I mean, it's powerful stuff. And then you see all this happening, and the nation's oblivious. We better start being oblivious to this, that there's forces that are trying to tear our country to pieces. But this Israel thing is huge to me, and I'm telling you, I believe if we keep going down this road, it's going to be more than bridges.
We're doing to them what this bridge collapsing has done to everybody on both sides of the river, and that is we're stranded.
That's exactly right. Thank you.
We're stranded. Israel's stranded now, okay? I mean, they need our help. And if we pull back, we're stranding them. And this bridge collapsing, I'm telling you that what it did on the psyche of this city, especially those of us on this side. Now, if you're on the west side of Baltimore, it's not a big deal. You just get on 695 and you go and hit 95. But those of us on this side of I-95 that use that bridge, 35,000 cars a day, to feel like I need to just get right there. Okay, look, it's just right there. You can see the other side. And now I got to drive through the city, go through a tunnel, take another 35 minutes to an hour to get right there. I just need to get right there. That bridge has stranded people. And what we're doing, if we pull back from Israel, is we're stranding them. Now make no mistake, they got God, okay? They've got God on their side, and all you got to do is go back and read the history about the 7-Day War and realize that God is going to fight for them. But, you know, the Bible's clear that I will bless them that bless thee, and I will curse them that curse thee. And if anybody can get us cursed, it'll be these yahoos in the White House right now.
Absolutely, buddy. What's your thoughts on this eclipse? I'm just here. What's your thought on it?
I hadn't thought much about it. I'm not one of those guys that try to analyze everything like that. There may be something to it. There may not be. To be honest with you, I hadn't really spent a lot of time looking at it. It's fascinating to me, and obviously I want to get where I can see it when it happens. But you know, there's a lot of things that are happening right now, but it's really not, as far as I'm concerned, any kind of biblical prophecy being fulfilled.
Yeah, I don't see that. I'm with you there. I don't think that, and I think I've warned our audience not to go far to the right, far to the left. Just understand it's a celestial event. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. We'll never see something like this again. And in that respect, it is something interesting. And I do believe that these things always tend to have, some kind of prophetic significance. But when we say prophetic significance, I'm not saying that I believe that the world's going to end or something like that. It just means that there are always signs in the heavens, but those things have been going on, Stacey, since the days of Christ. I mean,
Well,
so it's,
I'm looking for Jesus to come back.
Amen,
There's a lot of people argue, but I'm a pre-tribulational rapture. I believe Jesus is coming back. I believe in the imminent return. Titus chapter number 2 says, looking for that blessed hope and the glorious appearing of our great God and Savior, Jesus Christ. And so I'm looking for Jesus to split the eastern sky. And I just preached from those verses this past Sunday. And I believe that we should be, living our life every day expecting the imminent return of the Lord Jesus Christ. I don't think there are any prophecies, Christopher, that have to be fulfilled for Jesus to come back. I believe he can come back right now.
Come on, buddy.
And I believe the world is ready, especially since COVID and the whole forced vaccination thing. I believe the earth has been primed and ready. Let me put a pin in what I'm saying and go back to this bridge. Okay, the chaos and the mayhem that's caused from one ship hitting one bridge. Now imagine what's going to happen when Jesus comes back.
Come on, buddy.
Imagine when Christians all over the world, cars are running off the road, planes are flying out of the air, dropping out of the air, helicopters, trains, ships. Imagine the world coming to a screeching halt when all of God's people are instantaneously taken out of this earth and taken to heaven, and the chaos and the mayhem and the death that's going to ensue from that. And just seeing this bridge collapse and seeing all the pandemonium that broke out and the panic from one bridge in one city that just simply has to divert traffic. I'm telling you something, when the rapture takes place, the world, after we leave, I'm glad I'm not going to be here.
Buddy, I really appreciate you being on tonight. I think you've given a good perspective. Listen, I'm gonna say goodbye to these folks, but I want you to come back. I'm gonna get you back on for a full hour. This is sort of like a special live cast tonight, and I want you to come back because I'd like to pick these themes up again. I do want to ask you a quick question about the nation at large right now. Stacey Shiflett, if I ask him what's the number one thing that concerns you about our country right now, I met you at CPAC back in 2019 for the very, very first time, and we both love this nation. We've both been fighting for this nation. You've got one of the most probably evangelistic churches probably in that area of the country, I believe, and you've always been on the fighting lines, not just for faith, but you've been a voice to the nation for America to come back to God. But as of 2024, life has changed. Even since we've met each other, the whole country has changed in 5 years, buddy. What's Stacey Shiflett's message to the country as we say goodbye on this live cast, on the special Tuesday night show?
My question is, if you're not serious about serving God, living for God now, after the last 4 years, what would it take? What would it take? There's a story in Jonah, chapter number 1, where God gave Jonah a command: go to Nineveh and warn them, preach against that city. He went in the opposite direction. You know the story. Went down to the bottom of the ship, went to sleep. God sent a storm. The mariners were begging him to pray to his God. They were praying to their small g gods. Everybody was praying on the ship except the one guy that had the true God that could actually hear his prayer, okay? That's how backslid he was. That's how out of God's will Jonah was. At the end of chapter number 1, he said, throw me overboard, the storm will cease, everybody will survive. They threw him overboard, and the Bible says God had prepared a great fish to swallow him, okay? And the chapter 1 ends with, and I don't have my Bible in front of me, but the Bible says he was in the belly of that fish for 3 days.
3 days and 3 nights. Exactly right.
All right, you get to Jonah chapter number 1, and here's how Jonah chapter 2 starts. Then Jonah prayed.
It's a great point.
Now I'm thinking about, here's how backslid he was, Christopher. He was in the bottom of that ocean in that whale's belly for 3 days and 3 nights and didn't pray.
Well said.
Chapter 2, verse 1 says, then Jonah prayed. And my question to God's people is, what is it going to take? What has to happen in this country for us to do what God said to do in 2 Chronicles 7:14? If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land. God gave us a conditional promise. I know it was to Israel, but it applies to God's
all
people.
of us. Applies to all
God
of us.
will do something in this country.
That's right.
He's waiting on us to get serious.
That's right.
And so my question, my message to people every day is, what is it going to take for you to either get saved if you're not saved, Put your faith and trust in Jesus Christ. Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No man can come to the Father but by me. What's it going to take for you to get saved? And if you are saved, if you say you've been saved, what's it going to take for you to get serious about serving God and living for God? And I believe what's going to happen in this country is going to be a lot worse than anything we've seen if God's people don't wake up and get serious and get back to God.
Couldn't have said it better, buddy. Listen, it is so good to see you. I've really missed you being on the show. We've just went through some transitional times the last few years and sickness and stuff, but I want to get you back on, and we need to talk about some other things, and I appreciate you taking. I know you got a Bible class tonight. I'll reach out to you soon. I'm praying for you, and I hope to see and break bread with you again very soon in Dunkirk.
Thanks for having me on.
God bless, friend, and we'll be back, with you in another time and get you scheduled again, okay, my friend?
Let's do it.
Stacey Shiflett, everybody. Put some fire in that house. Stacey, thank you so much, my friend. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. And that was Stacey Shiflett, everybody. We're grateful that you're with us tonight, and we are so grateful that you're here. I want to just say hello to Tia. Tia works at the Francis Scott Key Bridge MTDA operations, and Tia, if you're out there, just acknowledge that. And we're grateful for Stacey being on tonight, and such a powerful man of God. He's really, really good. But Tia, if you're out there, just if you want to chime in a little bit, I was not aware of the historical area. When I had in my mind a picture of that bridge, because I've driven over that bridge a million times, and he made some great points tonight. It's a good thing it didn't happen during the day. There would have been mass casualties. But I want to pull that image back because I want you to notice how the media spun this. The media this morning, before any kind of official death toll was put out there, and there's been no deaths. But if you look at that headline, mass casualty event, that came from the Baltimore officials, and they fed it to the newspaper. Gateway Pundit picked it up. Gateway Pundit's a conservative paper. Breitbart picked it up. And there's only 6 people missing, thank God. I mean, I'm not saying this, thank God that they're missing, but that number could have been 600. If you'd had cars going back and forth, and think of the families that were in them cars, look, you could be talking hundreds of people that could have perished in this. Easy. But the irony is not lost on that headline at the top. Hamas digs in on hostages after Biden betrays Israel at the UN. Now, Biden, the way he betrayed Israel, is that he took his public beef with his private beef with Benjamin Netanyahu, and he took it to the UN. And as I told the Bible class this morning, America has never been Israel's, there's only been a few times that there has been, no distance between us and Israel. I have to tell you, Richard Nixon was one of those times. If you've ever seen the movie Golda, it's a summary of the 6-Day War, or the Yom Kippur War, not the 6th Day, but the Yom Kippur War 73, which was it was so similar to what happened on October the 7th of 2023, 50 years almost to the day. But when Golda Meir called Richard Nixon, the American forces were on the way to help Israel immediately. He didn't ask her why. He didn't give her grief. Those forces were sent, and help was sent immediately. If that call, I'm sure that call has been made now. I'm sure Bibi Netanyahu has reached out to this administration and begged them for some help. Israel don't need America to help to fight its wars and fight its enemies. But what Israel does need is for America to keep her blinking nose out of her business and tying her hands to fight against an enemy that would destroy America in a heartbeat and kill our citizens just like they killed Israeli citizens. But yesterday, when the United Nations said that we condemn Israel's efforts to protect herself and we demand a ceasefire, whereas in the past, America would have went to the UN, and we may not even agree with what Israel was doing, but we would have never publicly said it because we know the cost of that. We know exactly what our enemies are going to do. And if you look at the headline, folks, right after we did this, Hamas said, we're not releasing any more hostages. And they started demanding more and more and more and more because now they say, well, America has taken flight from Israel's defense. So we don't need to worry about America. We'll handle Israel, and we'll dig in, and we'll play the villain even more and the devil and destroy more lives. Don't let it get lost out there on this audience this afternoon that this event occurred within hours of that event at the top. With that event at the top, this event occurred within hours at the most historic bridge, probably the port in entirety of the country. Your national anthem, folks, is what we stand and sing at baseball games. The national anthem is that is considered our national theme song. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light? I mean, that song is America's anthem. So, while Chris is not a conspiracist, and Chris stays grounded on things, I do not let things like this get lost either, of the significance of what happened this morning. More of it's coming. More of it's coming if this don't get corrected. I mean, I cannot state that enough, folks. Can't state it enough. Our prayers are with the folks, these families tonight of the 6 missing. Thank God they found the 2. And I hope that they find the others. Tia, good to see you. Tia, if you're out there, were you there when all this happened this morning? I'm going to talk to Tia a little bit in the chat. If she don't mind, I'm just going to ask her, was she there? And if you got any comments, folks, Tia says, from what I understand, the bridge was erected very close to the spot where Key penned the anthem. It was. Thank you, Tia. It's exactly right. It was. And that's what makes this even more prophetic. And if you saw that video we showed you a while ago, is that the one? No. It's not going to let me play that back. Let me see if I can play it back. I'm going to pull this back a little bit. Hang on just a second. You can see that bridge. Let me pull it back. Look at that bridge collapsing right there, folks. There's the moment of impact. I'm going to play about the last 30 seconds. That is where the bridge collapsed right there. Look at that. And right there, there's another view of it. And the whole thing. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the cars? Had that happened in the middle of the day, what would have happened in Baltimore? But that is right where Francis Scott Key penned our national anthem. And now, one thing Stacey said off camera, and it's nothing I couldn't say publicly. I wouldn't never divulge anything he said to me privately. I've got a little bit, something called class to do stuff like that. But he did say that and you can see it, you could actually see it in the video, the thing took a hard right turn. That ship was going this way. The mechanical failure happened. And it was just like a magnet. He said that it had to take a hard right turn to crash into that bridge. And I tell you, folks, you can draw your own conclusions from that. But that's just... it's just weird. It's just weird. I don't believe it was terrorism. I don't believe it was anything other than exactly what they said it was, at least for now. But this hard right turn, I mean, it was just like, it was almost like it was being steered into that bridge this morning. So I'll let you draw your own conclusions of that. Thank you, Tia. And she says, I work there for the Maryland Transportation Authority at the Key Bridge campus. Tia, are they... she says, I live approximately 7 minutes, and you were home when this was happening. Well, Tia, we're glad you're okay. And Tia, if you would email me at McFilesForum@gmail.com, I may ask you some questions about it, and we may even get you on the show by phone next week or later this week if this thing develops more. But thank you for chiming in. I'm assuming that how will that affect you all? Well, I guess nobody's going to be going into work anytime in the next few days there. But if you want to transit department and the Department of Transportation there in Maryland, if you want to put that in there, that's fine. But we're grateful you're okay. We're grateful you're okay. I've seen you in the chat before. We're grateful you're part of the McFiles family as well. But anyway, they're saying that it turned because it lost power in the steering. They were dragging anchor. Well, I don't doubt that, Tia. Again, I mean, the mechanical side of it, I don't doubt any of that. I don't doubt that. It's just so weird because it could have drug left and missed the bridge. It drug right and hit the bridge. So, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like, folks, these things are prophetic. Now, it's 5:30 in the Central Time, 6:30 in the East. We were going to have Leslie Millwee on tonight, and maybe even Juanita Broderick. Leslie texted me this afternoon. She has got strep throat. God bless her heart. The devil has fought her. The last 2 or 3 times she has tried to come on this network, well, at least the last 2 times, she has come down with some kind of sickness, and we're going to get her back on soon. But our prayers for her tonight. But have no fear. William Federer is here. We recorded an interview with Bill today, part 2 of the history of Islam. Now, I'm going to go ahead and warn you. This interview is, it's a lot of history. You're going to have to get your history cap on, maybe even get a notepad out. It's a lot of dates, a lot of interesting things about really Islam from the time it was conceived in 600 AD, 630 AD in Mecca and Medina with Muhammad. And he brings you all the way up, almost. He brings you through the Crusades, brings you to the Reformation, brings you into basically the 1600s. And then we just ran out of time. And then he's going to be back on in about 2 to 3 weeks, and he's going to finish it up and take Islam from that point into the modern time and deal with some of the historical aspects of what's going on. He's got a great book on this subject that we talk about with him tonight. And we will air that probably around 9 o'clock, depending on how long the interview is. So be back with me at 9 tonight. I hope you enjoyed Stacey Shiflett. It's good to see him, old buddy. It's been a while since I've seen him and talked to him. And I think he nailed it and hit it out of the park this afternoon. What you think? I think he did a great, great, great job and so forth. And we appreciate, I appreciate Stacey being with us this afternoon. Tia says essential personnel report, office staff will be teleworking. Well, Tia, we're glad you're safe, buddy. We're glad you're safe. Thank you for the information. And Tia, if you get any interesting stuff you can share with us, McFilesForum@gmail.com, and we'll share it and give you credit and talk to you about it, okay? Thank you so much for chiming in, and we're glad you're safe again. Look, I'm grateful the whole city of Baltimore safe. This thing could have been worse, folks. When he said look, the 6 missing it's bad. We hope nobody was missing. They did find 2 people finally, but if you read the headline, you'd have thought there'd have been hundreds dead by this thing, according to the media. That's why you don't listen to the media on much. But I'm glad it's not as bad as maybe people thought or will be, and I'm hoping that's the case. All right, listen, I'll see you tonight with Bill Federer, and until then, McDonald out on a Tuesday afternoon in the East. God bless you. Never a dull moment, huh? Never a dull moment. But folks, I'm going to tell you something. I'm laughing about it, but it's not funny. Look, on a serious note, this stuff's going to keep happening. This is just, I got a bad feeling that more of this is coming, and I'm surprised this was not worse. I'm telling you, what we did yesterday at the UN was not good. It was not good for this country. And I say this to the Christian community out there this afternoon. Look, this nation is in peril, and we better not wait till we're in the whale's belly to stop praying. I'll just echo Stacey's comment. It's probably a good idea that we not wait till America gets in the whale's belly to start praying. And I'll leave it at that. All right, Bill Federer on tonight at 9. And until then, McDonald out. And I want to thank Stacey again for being with me. We thank you for being with us. Tia, thank you for chiming in, buddy, and hope you're well and hope your family's safe. Thank you. Glad y'all were okay up there, and our prayers for the whole city of Baltimore. It's a beautiful city, and a lot of heart and soul there, a lot of blue-collar, hard-working people, good people of the country. And our prayers with the city up there in that part of the nation. All righty. I'll see you tonight at 9 with Mr. Federer. Until McDonald out. And we are so grateful that you've been with us this afternoon, and we hope that you we'll have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day. Let me see if this is the one that I've got. I think it's this one. I got a brand new little intro. We're going to play that going out. And there we go. We'll see ya. Have a good day. See you tonight.